All Things Tech.
And welcome back to All Things Tech. Today is our Open Talk Conscious Chat podcast. We'll be going over many different topics ranging from monopolies, politics, technology, privacy rights, to the elite, the gay agenda, belief systems, and much more. Joining us on the conference line will be Luke, or if you've talked to him on the airwaves, he's known as Pseudo, our top tech advisor over in the UK. We may be taking some calls towards the end as well. If time permits, we will see how that goes. But I will be switching over to the conference line. It looks like he is standing by right now.
There's not too many small businesses doing their thing in America anymore. It's just all big business. It's all monopolies, man. You drive down the highway, you see the same stores over and over and over again. And it's the same shit everywhere you go. And it didn't used to be like that, bro. It's hard to compete with these big monopolies that are major manufacturing and molding products, you know. It's a negative topic, but it's true and it affects every American. I see more abundance, more free-flowing money in some other countries that I've been to. And America, man, definitely sold out.
It is. It's a shame. Will it ever turn around? I don't know. Because they bring in these laws and policies, don't they? And who the fuck ever changes stuff? I think Donald Trump is in the process of changing one or two things now, isn't he? Relating to maybe what Obama did, but they don't make any big changes.
No, Trump is such a dipshit. He's like every other politician. He preached change and did nothing. You know what he's working on changing? Getting rid of transvestites in the military. You know, he has his own little things that bother him, and that's what he's working on. He's an idiot, man. That doesn't help me at all. I don't care if transvestites are in the military or not. It doesn't change my life at all, you know. And he's talking about, I'm going to bring back these jobs. And no, he's not, man. He's not doing shit, you know. And America doesn't need these stupid factory jobs for these major corporations. That's not really solving the problem. You gotta make it where there's a little more equal opportunity for the small guy, you know. That would help him. But no, Trump is an idiot, man. All Trump's doing is fighting Obamacare and fucking fighting against gay people. That's all he's doing, man.
Saying the world's flat and then funding a new space program.
I know. How mind-boggling is that? It seems like they would not want a flat earther as president. You know, that could really disrupt their whole agenda and everything they've been doing. But Trump's full of shit. You can't trust him. Anything he says publicly, he's not as much of a loose cannon as you think, man. His shit is scripted most of the time, if not all the time.
Oh, probably all of the time. I mean, before he got elected in, my prediction was him saying what he was going to do to Hillary Clinton would be the first thing to go, and true to form it was. I mean, not that I give a shit, you know what I mean, American politics, I love America and all that lot, you know, it takes care of its own business, it does what it does, it makes no real difference to me, because I don't live there yet, but even, you know, when circumstances change, I wouldn't get all political.
No, I never get political. I'm definitely no expert on politics because it's just a subject that doesn't interest me. But corporate America isn't a politics channel, you know. It's talking about business, corporations, and monopolies.
Yeah, I guess you'll get some people who are politically minded falling in there, though, and wanting to talk about politics. You know, because it's kind of a linked subject, isn't it?
Yeah, so the movie The Circle, you thought that it was just a bit slow, but it picked up and got somewhat interesting. I told Mastermind to watch it too, and he liked it. But yeah, it's decent, man. I'd have to watch it again. I just watched it the one time with my girl, but it caught my interest because it talks a lot about how these companies are really infringing on your privacy, man. Like, and that's a big thing. But you know, the Circle, the camera that they come up with in that movie, the real camera in real life is the one on your iPhone. And then you have like the CCTV type setups too, where they're doing that as well. But where they can find any criminal within 20 minutes or whatever, you know. But yeah, the real Circle camera, man, that's the camera on your phone, dude. And there, so many apps and so many companies are able to access that. Apple sold me my iPhone, so of course they can access my camera and my pictures and everything, you know. And Google's the same way. They infringe on privacy like crazy. And now everything you go on, like YouTube, your email, everything's all connected through Google. You can go and view your history through Google. It knows everything you've done forever, you know. Every video you've liked, everything you're interested in. It's weird, man. This didn't used to be like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think I've told you before, the forward-facing camera on my phone, I have it taped over. But the movie The Circle, so do you think the complex itself, you know, where it was all going on, was that meant to be a representation of Silicon Valley, maybe?
The movie The Circle is supposed to represent Silicon Valley. Yeah, I think it's just supposed to represent all the major tech companies. The few, like, behemoths, for the ones that have really grown to be just ginormous, and they've sold out to the CIA and to the government and to corporations. So they're selling out, giving information on people that, you know, could be a threat, and then they're also just selling everyone's information to corporations that want to advertise. So you can, like, buy anyone's profile, you know, and have just really ridiculous amounts of information on them. But they also have the right to, like, literally listen to your microphone, turn on your camera, and that's where it gets crazy, you know. And they might be doing that just at the corporation or in cooperation with the government or something. But yeah, I definitely think that that it's a representation for just the major tech companies that have massive amounts of data right now.
So basically, if you just go to your web browser and type in zello.com/The Circle, it'll take you to the page to connect. So if you were connecting through your device, it would automatically put the channel into your list just through hitting that button on the web page.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Well, as far as I know, you can't do it with Apple iPhone.
Yeah, makes sense. I've never added a channel that way.
Yeah, Julie gave me a call, and I thought that you'd knocked me off because it was like she disappeared, and then all of a sudden I heard your voice, but it was something at her end. When I rang her back, she informed me. So that was a bit weird. But anyway.
Yeah, I haven't taken over your device. Don't worry.
The Illuminati ended our phone call. It'd be weird if somebody was really doing that by proxy and using your account to do it.
Yeah, they're convinced I'm a hacker. There's like nothing I could say to them, tell them I'm not a hacker. Because I have software on my website that just tells me what users are on the site, what page they're on, you know. And I can even see their IP address of their country that they're in. So one day when KMIA was on my server, my ATC channel, I started talking to them. There's like me and Fiji Air, just one of my friends were in there. And I was like, what's up, man? How's it going in blah, 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 UK? He's in the UK. And I tell him what town he's in and all sorts of shit. And I was like, oh, you know, this game runs better on Chrome rather than using Mozilla Firefox. And I can see your Firefox is outdated, bro. He just loses his mind. He's like, this is really creepy. And ever since then, he's just convinced that I fucking took over his device.
But how could you see that his Firefox was outdated? Just purely by... I mean, is it telling you which version he's using or something?
Yeah, I can get pretty detailed information on users. And that's totally normal, man. You'd be surprised what you can do when you really try. That's without trying. I can get all that data. I can tell your IP address, what type of computer you're using, what your operating system is, what browser you're on, what pages you visited on my website. Different shit like that. If I really wanted to go deeper, I could even pull your history with the other pages that you've been on.
Other pages on your site or on just like the website in general?
Pages in your search history or pages in your history of your browser, period. But that's way more difficult. That's using totally different programming. That's not available through this program that I use. But definitely doable. You ever go to a website and see an ad pop up for a page that you were just on? You know what I mean?
And doesn't that show on the cookies?
Yeah, but cookies are just set up to make the website load faster, so it's saving the data that you've already loaded on my website. But yeah, I mean, using cookies, you can access the cookies that it's saved from other websites where it saved that data. So yeah, or it just uses your history. your actual history, like if you go view history on your browser.
Good stuff. I imagine all this stuff comes in really handy if you're a hacker or some shit. But yeah, I suppose there is some. They call it ethical hacking, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know. Just something to have an awareness of, I guess, because I think that our privacy definitely is not being protected properly. You know, there's things they could do that would keep people a little safer. I think I'm big on privacy, and your information should be private, you know. And just because you downloaded some Jelly Bean game app doesn't mean this programmer should have access to your camera roll on your phone. You know, that's not okay. That's like trespassing. It should be criminal charges, I think.
I totally agree. And that's why whenever I do reinstall my phone, there's a whole bunch of shit that I always disable. Mainly Google stuff, you know, permissions and things like that. And I even deny them permission to run, you know, disable them and shit. And then on top of that, I run a firewall. Although the firewall itself, I suppose, you know, that does its own dialing around, and who it's dialing to, I don't know. You know, because these programs always send bytes of information back to the creator, I guess. But it's a matter of who do you trust, and I don't know, when it comes down to it, it's like how many processes do you want outgoing from your phone? Weigh that against who created your firewall. And you don't know anyway. It's like, I don't know, it's the lesser of the two evils, I suppose, which is to my mind is less data leaking out of your phone is the lesser of two evils, but that might just be a false way of looking at it.
I use Google Docs. You know, Google has Google Docs, which a lot of companies are switching over to. You can integrate these spreadsheets into your website, edit them live, collaborate with ease, you know. It's so convenient. And it's free. It's just crazy, bro. And it's secure, but they have access to it, you know what I mean? They can tell how much revenue our companies are earning. They can tell everything, man. It's insane. They can tell if I'm behind on my leads or if I'm really handling my business, you know? There's nothing that Google can't see. If I was sitting at Google looking at me, there's nothing about me I wouldn't know, you know?
So are there not any other third-party companies that could be used rather than Google?
They just don't compare. I mean, Google made a better version of Microsoft Office, the whole suite. I mean, we're talking Word, Excel, you know, everything. And so it's like a better version, and it's web-based, integratable, full functionality, anything you can imagine they've built in, you know. And so it's like no other company would have anything that can compare. And Google's doing things like, you know, like Google Hangouts, where they'll give anyone a phone number. You can make like unlimited free phone calls and receive calls. Like everyone in the world can just have a free number. It's just crazy shit like that. Like, how do you compete with that, you know? And you know those calls are being tracked like crazy.
Well, I think all calls are being tracked, so does it make much difference who's tracking them, really? But I didn't know that about the Hangouts thing, about the free phone number and the free calls and shit. Obviously, it's the data calls, aren't they? So you have to be connected to the internet. So is that heavy on data usage?
I'd say it does matter who's tracking the call, because if the government's recording every call and just going after the ones that are a major threat, then, you know, that's kind of understandable. But if a corporation's recording every call and is able to just publicly, like, sell that data to other corporations that might want to know your convo or something, then that's kind of crazy, you know? You might be agreeing to terms that state that your entire conversation could be freaking broadcast and sold, you know? Corporations can do whatever they want. I mean, the government's going to have some discretion. I don't know how much data it eats up. You know, I have unlimited on everything. I never pay attention to data like that. So I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, but I guess with regards to the phone calls, you know, the content of your conversation has to be really worth something to someone, because there are literally millions and millions of people talking. So, I mean, of what use is that to, you know, the average Joe's conversation to these people, really? I mean, and when do they get the time to even analyze it?
Because the corporation wouldn't buy one phone call. They'd buy a packet of 20 million. and they might have programs that can go through that and distinguish what's being talked about and what might have relevance to whoever, you know. It could be used for all sorts of information. It could be used like what they do when they want to get feedback, you know, how they do surveys, and they even have like companies that do surveys like that. But I don't know, advertising purposes, government would buy those just to monitor everyone's calls and be able to run it through the system. Every once in a while the government might pay them just to transfer all data of all calls made, and they're going to run that through their own programs where, you know, it's going to scan. Because there's all these new ways for people to communicate. So government's constantly having to adapt how to track all these communications that are going out. It's not just cell phones and landlines anymore, you know.
Yeah, it certainly is a strange predicament that we're all finding ourselves in, against our will. You know, it's this world, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because I mean, on another level, we are all connected anyway. And from what you read, if you read these spiritual teachings and things, when you get to certain levels, there's nothing that you can hide from anyone. You know, everything's open and exposed, and even your thoughts. So down here, I suppose, paradoxically, there's actually more privacy. Yeah, it really is weird.
Yeah, but even here, you can kind of tell where somebody's coming from. Like, my girl's parents, no matter what they say or do, are going to put off a bad energy just because, like, deep in their core, they have a lot of negativity and judgment. I just say to each his own. I don't like to judge. I take the good that come from people and just overlook the bad, I guess. With some people. But with some people, you can't do that, man. That's what I was talking about, like, on an energetic level. You know where people are coming from, like, you can kind of see through the bullshit no matter what they say or do. Like my girl's parents, you know. It's pretty obvious, you know, where they're really coming from. So there's no real secrets, you know. You know what people's motives are.
It's just kind of shining the spotlight on it, that's all. Regardless of anybody's opinion or quote unquote judgment, if a thing is a thing, it is a thing without my opinion or anyone else's opinion, isn't it?
But yeah, I don't know, I just think judging's a bad thing, man. And it brings a lot of people to a bad state. It's like a lack of kindness in people who are super judgmental, you know.
In one respect, there's another side to that, whereas if a person were to express their opinion about what someone else is doing, and that other person might see that they were being criticized or whatever, that could potentially go on to strike a chord in a person's mind, and they could think at a later point in time, well, yeah, maybe that person did have a point, and I might not be the only person who said it, and so it could be maybe these people do have a point, and then maybe, you know, whatever, him or anybody else may decide to look at their own actions in a little bit more depth. But I'm not here to try and advise anybody to do that.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, man. But you know, like Eckhart Tolle, people like that will try to can describe it pretty well and show you how you're judging everything, you know, and that there's a lot of peace to be found in not judging everything and every person so much, you know.
Oh yeah, when my wife rang me 10 minutes ago or whenever it was, she was saying that in the centre of the town today there's some festivities, whatever, because it's 50 years since being gay was, I'm guessing, made legal. Weird.
What? Was it illegal? I never knew it was illegal. Is that gay marriage, or I'm confused? No, because gay marriage just happened, right? That's weird. Was it illegal? I never remembered it being illegal at any time. That's weird.
Well, maybe illegal is not the word, but it's marking 50 years of something, and so I guess really I'm speculating as to what that is. my wife was in town. There was a lot of noise and traffic around her and everything. Obviously, I don't know whether it's people playing music and stuff like that, so I was straining a little bit to hear what she was saying. But yeah, what I was saying in my previous key up is, like, it's weird, isn't it? Because I guess back in the day there was a lot less gay people, and I know the population has grown and all that, but in proportion to the population growth, there seems to be a lot more gays and transsexuals in this day and age than there was, well, certainly even in the 80s.
Why do you think that is, Sigo?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I really don't know. Maybe people are feeling more confident about being open. Could it be environmental factors? I guess it could. Changes in hormones in people's bodies and things like that, dietary things, and I really don't know. What do you think?
The homosexual agenda is being pushed so hard right now because it's population control. One of the number one things on the agenda of the elite is population control, because it's like a virus spreading. They want to get rid of a lot of people, but they don't want to mass murder people. They just want there to be a lot less people. So that's one of the ways, is they're trying to fight against birth. Like it's a method of birth controls to, you know, they're not going to have kids, you know. So that's a win-win for the elite, and that's why they're releasing all these actors and singers that are girl singers who are actually a boy, and boy actors who are actually a girl, and they've been raised that way their whole life. So they're like really messing with people's heads, doing a lot of different things right now to get the genders to kind of morph, you know. And I think it's all population control, and it's pushed by Hollywood, and, you know, it's just bullshit.
So you're saying you think that sexual preferences can be programmable? Maybe so, yeah. I mean, I'm quite hard to program. I mean, I can't even be hypnotized, at least from my experience that I had with a hypnotist. She couldn't put me under, or she didn't put me under. So maybe some people are prone to that, some kind of thing, and others just aren't.
Yeah, just because you're not susceptible to it doesn't mean a large part of the population won't fall susceptible, because, you know, if they make it as something that is socially acceptable and push it hardcore with a lot of propaganda, some people are going to buy into it. Not everybody, but some people will, and that number will continue to grow. That's just how advertising works, you know?
Yeah. I find the whole transsexual thing a bit hard to understand as well. How, I mean, even if a person has these desires, how they would go to the length of having surgery to manipulate the body in such a way, because at the end of the day, no matter what they do with the surgery, you're never really going to become, you know, a man if you're a woman, or a woman if you are a man. They haven't perfected the surgery that far yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them to operate on a broken arm, much less you know what, man. But I'm just old school with my beliefs, you know. I think it's kind of like, it just goes against who we really are, you know, like, I don't know, almost like insulting to the creator, but I don't know. That's just old school, archaic belief systems built in. My cell phone thinks I'm in Canada right now. I'm on Rogers Network.
Oh, fuck. Well, yeah, the first thing I said was, because like you said something about your draconian beliefs or something like that about the gay and the creator and stuff. So I kind of made a little bit of a quip and I said, oh, form of judgment. But then I went on to say, I was having a conversation with this guy and I was saying to him, what if you actually made a mistake by having that surgery? Because what if your life plan before you came to this world was to live as a man, and you may have just made an error by having that surgery, whether you're conscious of it or not. And so the danger that would lie in there would be possibly you're going to have to come back all over again to finish what you started and didn't complete the first time around, or second, or whatever time it was.
Yeah, like it has something to do with reincarnation. I don't know. That's what a lot of people say. They live like 1,000 lives as a woman and come in as a man. It's hard on them. You never know. And it's funny, I didn't hear your key up, but I had that thought. I was like, I know he's going to take that as judgment. And it is a kind of a form of judgment, you know, to judge a whole type of people that I don't really understand. And I'd be better off not judging them, not, you know, definitely not harboring like some hatred or anything. Could go that far. There are some people that actually do that. So, yeah, I'd be better off just letting them live their lives. It's something that I don't understand, so I don't need to spend my time, you know, having an opinion either way.
Yeah, I suppose it just underlines the fact that it is hard to even think without, you know, possibly someone else classifying it as judgment. It's just difference, isn't it? We don't have the same brains. We don't have the same thoughts. And I don't know. It just is what it is. And that's a very cliche thing to say, but what else can you say?
Yeah, we're all different, but I think we could all coexist a little easier if we didn't judge each other so harshly, you know. And I think it's kind of what Eckhart Tolle is saying. Just to have peace, like a peaceful mind isn't one that's judging everything. And you might be judging it in a negative way or in a positive way, but either way, you're just judging everything. It could fire back on you. Not you, I just mean people.
Yeah, of course. But for some reason, we have separated ourselves from what was maybe a monotheistic God, or, you know, the one creator, or whatever the words are, and we are individual and broken up into these tiny pieces of difference, of contrast, and all the rest of it. So I suppose, I don't know, acknowledging who we are in this moment can't be a bad thing, acknowledging that we have differences. Because if we are truly thinking these things, and then maybe presenting ourselves in a different way, then we're not being true to ourselves. So, like you said, you had this belief system about gay people. I've had that in the past, you know what I mean? But now they're just kind of like, just totally irrelevant to the way, or the things that I think, you know? We never remain the same thing, do we, from even day to day? And that's my judgment. Fuck, what was I going to say then?
I just keep going back to Eckhart Tolle, because I think that's what he's trying to teach, is non-judgment. And that's where it all comes from, you know? That's what your mind is doing, non-stop. And it's just constantly thinking and judging every thought that it has. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this good? Is this bad? And it just creates mental misery.
I find that I don't really overthink these days. Unless I'm, you know, thinking about what I'm actually doing or what I'm actually saying. The rest of it is just probably filled up with reading, or I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of these people who think too much about things anymore. Beyond the things that I aspire to, I suppose.
I said I got good at directing my consciousness towards the ends I desire. If you know what book that's from.
I don't, but I'm guessing it might be from Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
I like the way that it's in the beginning, in the preface, that it says, you may get the message from chapter 1, or you may get it from chapter 9, or whatever, but it's the same message in each chapter, you know, so you may not need to read the whole book. And it gives his son as an example. But I kind of like that, because it simplifies it, you know, just into like knowing, and I don't know. It kind of also says that whoever's writing this material is not an expert, and that it's more kind of down to you, you know, and your equivalency, or something like that.
I didn't think that he was saying that the truth is in every chapter. You don't have to read the whole book. I thought of it a little bit differently. Like, he was saying that it's hidden in there. Like, you might find everything you need in one chapter. But I always kind of wondered what he meant by that. Like, which chapter is he talking about? Is it the first? Is it the last? Or I don't know. Felt like he was saying there was one chapter that just, I don't know, kind of had it all.
Oh, well, the message I get is that he's saying, you know, one of these chapters may resonate with you more strongly than any other, so you might get halfway through the book and then, you know, feel like you've found the message. At least that's what I get from it.
This book should be adopted by all high schools, and no boy or girl should be permitted to graduate without having satisfactorily passed an examination on it. Didn't quite make it there, Mr. Hill.
No, I kind of thought like that as well after I read the Allied Sciences from Wallace Wattles, the Getting Rich, the Being Well, and the Being Great. I thought that was, those three books were essential for educational purposes. The Getting Rich maybe needed a little bit updating, because you can see where it's slightly out of date in places, but the general principles, yeah, it's a shame that they don't teach these things in schools. But they're only going to teach you what you need to know to become a productive member of society in their eyes.
Yeah, a cooperative component.
And don't forget to drink that coffee on your coffee break mid-afternoon so that you can squeeze that little bit more out.
Yeah, he does say in the very first line of the preface, in every, all capital letters, in every chapter of this book, mention has been made of the money-making secret, which has made fortunes for more than 500 exceedingly wealthy men. So what's he mentioned in every single chapter over and over?
Well, from my memory, even the word faith is one of the chapter headings, isn't it? But it was a number of years ago when I actually read that, and I passed it on to a college student, actually. As I was walking by the college, I said to him, "Here, read this." Gave it away. I see that, but it's not really telling me what's mentioned in every chapter, is it?
Nope. Makes every chapter seem different. But he says it's mentioned in every chapter. I think it's just directing your mind towards the ends you desire. He says that a lot. Talks about that a lot. Any man who has the ability to direct his mind towards the ends he desires. The Sixth Sense chapter, the door to the temple of wisdom. That's an interesting one. The 13th step towards riches.
So you were saying about the previous versions and the editing out of all the references to vibration. That particular edition that you've got, what's the original? I mean, is it a faithful copy of the 1937 edition? And does it mention all the vibrational stuff?
No, I mean, this is just the published version. That vibrational stuff never got published, so you'd have to have the author's original manuscript or whatever, I don't know if it was ever published like that. And I got that from Abraham Hicks when she said she channeled Napoleon Hill, and he told her that they made him edit out all that stuff. Or a part of it was from that. I think that he had actually said something about that as well in an interview, but she was talking about, I think I told you about that, when she was channeling Napoleon Hill.
No, I don't remember her channeling Napoleon Hill, but I remember listening to Jerry Hicks explain. I remember where I was when he was explaining it. I was walking, listening. I don't know if it's in the end of Ask and It Is Given, the MP3 podcasts, but there's some CD out there and Jerry Hicks is talking all about it. But I didn't know that it was never published in any version. So yeah, that would be really hard to come by, wouldn't it? The original, the manuscript. I mean, who has that? Where would that be? I wonder if Esther Hicks has got it.
And I can hear the buzzer going off, so it looks like we're out of time on this podcast here. But thank you for listening to All Things Tech. This is Conscious Chat with our open topic chat for the night. You can learn more by visiting us on truthbook.tk. Stay tuned for more shows. And again, thank you for listening.